Hello, Greg from Balloon Market here, and welcome to BMTV. I've got a few shout outs, a few hellos, a few thank yous. First of all, Claire that came in this morning. Claire, thank you so much for coming in. It's so nice to put a face to the name. That's right, yeah, I've got it the right way around. I'm sorry your gig was cancelled, but I hope you did enjoy spending some time in the New Forest. It is a lovely place over here. But thank you. It was so nice to see you. It was a pleasure to meet you. And I just want to say thanks to Mark once again from Qualitex. He came in. Okay, it wasn't actually really last week. You can probably tell because I was wearing a sweater. It was a while ago that we filmed that, but Mark, as always, teaching us something. It was brand new to me, and I'd never have thought of using candy striping on that arch. But I also wanted to say thank you to all those people that then, on last week's show, decided to send us some pictures of what they've done. So we're going to show those now, but I just want to mention everybody by name. Gemma, Joyce, Richard, and Becky. Thank you so much for sending your pictures. Really appreciate it. It's really nice to see how other people are using the technique that we're showing there on BMTV. And talking of shout outs and people sending us pictures of their work, a big thank you to Dale and a big thank you to Sally. Guys, it was so nice to see. Basically, I'm sure you all remember BMTV 114, don't you? Yes, of course we do, Greg. Yeah, we remember. That's the one where Mike from Reds came in and he showed us how to make those amazing numbers. That's right. That's exactly it. Well, Dale and Sally obviously took inspiration from that, and they've been creating those numbers. Dale's been going full speed with those. He sent us 4 pictures of the big ones and one of the pictures of the small ones, the small one, and it's amazing. And Sally, obviously you've been using very trendy rose gold and personalizing it, but it's fantastic to see, particularly at the moment where there's people worrying about Card Factory, to see things like that being created and being sold. And that's when people have watched somebody that's been on BMTV, taken that information, applied it themselves, and now they're out there selling that stuff. It's really, really, really pleasing to see, and hopefully it's making you a shed load of money. So yeah, thank you for sharing those. We really do appreciate it. So speaking of Card Factory, I've noticed there's quite a bit of anxiety in the industry, and there always is, with people saying things like, Card Factory are selling this balloon at $4.99 a super shape. How can I compete? And it's the same with Morrison's are selling party stuff now. How can I compete? And it's the same sort of thing, really. First of all, are Morrison's going to change their strategy? Unlikely. Card Factory going to change their strategy? Unlikely. So can you do anything about it? Very unlikely. So there's no point focusing on it. If you focus on it, you're just going to get more and more wound up. So my advice really is don't worry about it. However, when you start to think about it and start to analyze it a little bit, you realize that there really is not anything to worry about, because the customers that go into Card Factory over here, they're not your customers. They probably never would be your customers. You're not actually competing with Card Factory. You're competing with Card Factory as much as you're competing with your local butcher selling sausages. Because, let me explain, because if somebody comes to you and they ask you for whatever, and then they say, oh, it's too expensive, it's either too expensive for them because they honestly cannot afford it, in which case they've got to go somewhere else and try and get something cheaper. So Card Factory will work for that. If they just don't see the value in what it is you offer, well, there's nothing you can do about that. If they don't see how you're adding value with your creativity, with your ideas, with the collar on the balloon, with the multiple color ribbons coming from the neck of the balloon rather than just a single balloon, with any adornments, with other things like I was talking about Mike there and talking about his creations with his numbers that you could sell for £35, £40, whatever. That is very different to a single, 21 balloon that you would get from Card Factory. So you've got very different customers. And so these ones that go to Card Factory, or the people that want to go to Morrison's and they just want to do it themselves, it's not necessarily that they just don't want to pay the money. They might just like doing things themselves, or they want to try it. I installed all the cable in this building for the computers, all the data cables. Not because I didn't want to pay somebody to do it, because it was a challenge. I'd never done it before. I needed to figure out how to do it. It probably would have been cheaper, to be perfect. It definitely would have been cheaper from a time point of view to get somebody else to do it that knew what they were doing. But I had to figure out, I had to go up in the ceiling. I had to figure out how to get cables downstairs. I had to do all of that. But at the end of it, I felt such a feeling of satisfaction. I was really pleased that I did it. I'll probably never do it again, but I did it. And maybe that's what these people are. Although we have all had that, well, I don't know if we have all had that phone call. Hello, my friend did my balloons for my wedding yesterday, but they're all on the floor this morning. Can you help? And that's quite often what might happen if somebody is trying it themselves. So, but they're not your customers. They literally are not your customers. The customers you want are the people that don't have the inclination of doing things themselves. They want somebody that's a professional. They want somebody that knows what they're doing, not somebody that's just at Card Factory inflating a balloon that thousands of other people get. And they value their time. So that's why they come to you. That is absolutely the customer base you want. So that's why I say my advice to you is don't worry, keep an eye on, Card Factory and Morrison's, and just know what's going on in the industry. But don't compete entirely on price, because if you are going to try and compete on price, you will simply lose. You do not have the buying power. We do not have the buying power to compete with some of these big retailers. They're buying for 500, for 1,000 stores at a time. None of us can, and their buyers can be brutal. I used to work for Sainsbury's. I used to recruit buyers. I used to work with buyers to get them. They are brutal, absolutely brutal. They would be, whichever manufacturers are selling to them, they would not be making much money. Honestly, they just want to be in these places. So it's not worth worrying about. It really is not worth worrying about. And I want to give you an example of how the value that you offer, even though in financial terms is more expensive, what you're selling is more expensive, the value you offer is worth far more than what people are paying. Recently, I went to Warner Brothers Studios in Watford to see the Harry Potter sort of studio tour. And it was my niece over from Australia with my sister-in-law and my nephew. And a few weeks ago when she was booking it, she said, I want to go to Harry Potter World, will you come with me? I'm like, okay, yeah, somebody's got to drive you. I'm happy to do that. I always liked Harry Potter. So it was just the two of us. And I said, what date are you booked for? She told me. I said, what time? Okay, yeah, there's still tickets available. She said, I've booked the deluxe experience. I'm like, that sounds nice. Let's have a look. Normal price, £39. Deluxe experience, £200. And I was like, that's a lot for just a day out for Harry Potter. Should I do it? Oh, she's come from Australia. I know she loves it. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. And I did it. And I have to say, it was the best decision I ever made. I came out of there feeling that I had more value from that experience than I would have had I gone in at £39. And this is the reason why. You pull up to the gate, they say, have you got your reservation? You just show them the phone, yeah. And it's like, on the walkie-talkie, hello, we've got a deluxe customer. Can you please make the parking available? Oh, that's nice, yeah. And then you go drive along, there's a man there, moves the cones out of the way, and you pull into these empty parking spaces. I'm funny with parking. Since somebody dinged a brand new car I had about 15 years ago, the day I got it. So I don't want to park next to anybody ever. And I didn't even worried because I pulled up to the space at the end, closest to the door, and nobody parked next to me. There was at least 5 or 6 spaces. I looked out a couple of times throughout the day, and yeah, absolutely awesome. Somebody comes out, they get you, you jump the queues, you don't have to get your tickets out of the machine, they give them to you. Jump the queue, the bag search, and they say, you're a bit early. Do you want to sit in the restaurant? Go in the restaurant. This is your deluxe experience area. We've got the ropes off and bottles of water on the tables. And then you go back out at 10 to, and our guide was amazing. Been there 3.5 years. It's as if she was still as excited 3.5 years in as if it was her first week. And she asking questions that she probably heard 1 billion times, and amazing. And then you go through first, and then they show you the film and stuff. And then you go through Hogwarts doors. Like, wow, look at that, it's amazing. And it was. And then halfway round, she sneaks you back through to the Hogwarts doors, which are now closed again. And you have a private photo session where just with you on your phone, just taking pictures, and they take the pictures for you, and it's great. And then halfway round, they offer the menus for lunch, so your lunch is ready when you get out there at lunchtime. You get your butterbeer, and you get your You get to jump the queues as well. So, you know, the photos, the green screen photos, you get to jump the queues and the videos and all that sort of stuff. And you get some photos and a video and everything included in the price. If you add up everything that is part of this experience, it would probably cost you about £140. And you wouldn't necessarily do that if you paid the £40 price. You might not get the photos. You might take a packed lunch. You might not do any of that stuff. But it's about £140. So really, you're paying more, still 2.5 times, what you would pay to get in to have that experience. But absolutely worth it. I went on TripAdvisor, said how amazing it was. Absolutely loved it. And that is what you are offering. You are offering that value. Just think, if you're selling something a bit like Mike is creating, that showed us how to create it in BMTV 114, then somebody that's receiving that, they're going to think, wow, I didn't realize you could even do something like that with balloons. That's so creative. And they're going to know that that cost a little bit more, quite a lot more than a £5 balloon from Card Factory. So my message to you is, don't be anxious. Do not worry. They are literally not your competition. You're in a completely different field altogether. So please don't worry. Right, I've got some stock here, and I didn't realize, but when I was laying it out, it's sort of a journey through your life once you've met the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. So, yay, we're engaged. OMG, we're engaged. I'm not sure why they're different, but maybe one's for the blokes. OMG, I'm engaged. And the ladies, yay, we're engaged. Anyway, and then you kind of have your hen night, don't you? So you've got your L badge or your bride-to-be. And then once you've had your hen night, you get married. And of course, when you get married, you've got to have balloons with 6-inch tulle on them. And I think we've got white as well. I've just not brought that up. But this is a new range. We might be showing you how to do something with 6-inch tulle at some point in the future, just saying. And then, of course, once you're married, well, you've got to have kids. So there you go. Girl or boy, you don't have to have kids, by the way. Would I recommend it? Yeah, girl or boy. So you've got your gender reveal parties. So we've got the scratch cards here. And then, of course, once you've had kids, well, you've got to have flamingos in your life. So we've got some flamingo napkins and flamingo plates. You know, you go to the zoo, you see flamingos at some point. And then, of course, you retire. So we've got the retirement banner up there. We've got the retirement napkins, the retirement plates. They're only the smaller plates. So for a workplace retirement party, maybe. And then once you've retired, you want nothing else but to buy 3-foot clear latex balloons from Qualitex. There you go. No, that's just because they've been quite hard to find recently, and we've got them back in now. We've got loads of them. So they are in. Now, speaking of stock, Christmas and Halloween, our stock is still on offer. We'll be putting that back up to full price very, very soon, probably in August. So if you want to get yourself a deal on Christmas, somebody ordered a whole bunch of Christmas stuff last week. Somebody ordered a whole bunch of Christmas stuff. If you do want to get yourself a deal, go. There's not that much left, but go and order it now while you can. Now, we've been making some changes to the website. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. Some of them, by the time you watch this, should have been instigated. So keep your eyes out. We're trying to make it more mobile friendly, and we're putting a few other things on there as well. So if you've got any other ideas, please let us know. But there are some pretty cool changes happening. We're just always wanting to improve the experience for you. So yeah, we are trying hard to just keep on improving. And speaking of which, we've got a new section. It's only accessible through the banner on the homepage at the moment. It's called Collections. Now, in the trade, generally speaking, you know what it is you want. Oh, I just want this 11-inch bag of white balloons, so add to basket, and you know what you want. But sometimes, particularly if it's something that's just fashionable at the moment, like rose gold or flamingos or something like that, it's nice to get some inspiration about what else if you've got a customer that wants to have a flamingo party, what else might you be able to offer? So that's why we've created the collections section. So you can go and click on the collection section and, for instance, have a look at flamingos and see all the other bits and pieces, some plain coloured balloons and different types of balloons and other accessories and things that you might be able to use for a flamingo party. So it's more for the things that are very on vogue and trendy at the moment. So yeah, go and head over and have a look at that. Right, question of the week this week. I would like to ask you, what is the most expensive thing you have bought, or the most expensive experience you have bought, but felt you still had amazing value? It could be a car, could be a holiday, could be an extremely awesome sandwich, anything, just leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear about that. Next week, we have another balloon industry celebrity. Yes, we have Mr. Chris Horn from Amscan coming in. And Chris, I've known Chris for years, but it was really nice to get to know him properly when he came down, and the chat with him, the interview with him, it was just great. He's got a very, very creative mind, and the way he views the world and through his creative eyes, and what he sees the benefits are to actually be trading now as opposed to how much more difficult it was 30 years ago. It's a real insight into somebody that's been in the industry a long time. So yeah, if you want to pick up some tips from Chris, make sure you tune in next week. Right, that is it from me this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. See you next time. Bye.